What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we are going to be taking a look at a trophy hunter game featuring the Grim Soul Croc combo. And this is a pretty powerful late game engine that isn't super common to run across. I've actually only put it together this one time, really, and it is pretty crazy. So wanted to show you guys how exactly I got there. Cinderella is an absolutely fantastic start for Trophy Hunter, and Cinderella plus a forbidden fruit in the shop that we can lock is absolutely wonderful because it'll let us play 3 units next turn, and it will also be a spell to count for Cinderella. There's a lot of really good tier 2 treasures for Trophy Hunter, so always super happy to see a Cindy at the start of the game. We're going to win against Potion Master, and then we're up against Horde Dragon, so we'll buy the Forbidden Fruit along with the Fanny and the Minotaur. And now we should have 3 units to their 2, though the fact that Horde Dragon lost their first combat means that they could have cast a Shrink spell in their first combat and just chosen to take some damage, and it turns out that is going to be what they did, but they actually only still really have 2 units here because they've got Mad Mim supporting 2 chickens. So we're still going to win this one, which is pretty nice, and we would have lost this had we not had the Forbidden Fruit. So this is really good, getting to pad our life total early on in the game is going to just help protect us in the end game, because we're just going to have a little bit more life to be able to maneuver. And sometimes Trophy Hunter doesn't really get to use its hero power in the early game and kind of starts on the back foot. But actually, we already get to use our hero power starting on turn 3 as Black Cat can slay and get a trigger its last breath. So that could potentially be helpful for us too. We are up against an undefeated APOC, but I feel pretty strong here with 5, borderline 6 or 7 units, depending on if this Black Cat can slay or not, and it does. So now we get 2 more Black Cats that, if you look at the rest of my opponent's squad, they can trade with all of their units. So we wind up killing them with 3 units left over and hitting that APOC for 5. Pretty fantastic start for Trophy Hunter, and we get to keep the start rolling by picking up another Forbidden Fruit and a pair of Queen of Hearts. There are some good tier 3 treasures as well, and Queen of Hearts is just a really strong unit, especially on 3.0. We've got the Black Cat already, and we've got the Minotaur, so we've got some other evil units. I think about putting the Black Cat in the 2nd position, so that way it can attack and slay and actually generate an additional token. But I think it's probably more likely or more risk averse to just plan around them attacking into one of my things, them attacking first, and then the Black Cat will still spawn 2 things. And even if it doesn't, I think we're probably still in a pretty good spot, and it shouldn't matter too much with this early Queen of Hearts pair. So the Black Cat not going to get its slay. Ogre Princess will, but we take a look. My opponent does not really have too much of a backline, so I don't think this combat is going to be too big of an issue here. We take out the Ogre Princess, and then they are basically left with nothing, and we're undefeated. We're on 36 health, but we are an undefeated Trophy Hunter, and that feels quite good. We can take another Black Cat here. That seems like it is probably worth it, even just to grow our Queen of Hearts, even if we're not getting those last breaths. But if we do, it is quite powerful. I'll use this free roll to try to tick down Cinderella once more, and then I'm going to spend cash on rolling, and the Fanny doesn't really seem like it's going to be super useful for us. We are definitely evil on this one. I will pick up the Black Cat, and Bounty Board is one of the best Trophy Hunter treasures to be able to pick up. This is like a little bit early for it. We might not even be able to make too much use out of it, but it is definitely going to be super powerful for us. And now we can start gaining gold and just doing some incredible things. That's like the main tier 2 treasure that you're looking for, other than Hermes boots and Monster Manual. Those are also some really strong ones, but definitely feeling strong right now. We're going to get the Slay with Black Cat, so we summon 2 kitties here and get some free gold to boot. My opponent with an upgraded Romeo. They probably upgraded a Cinderella there or something, but this doesn't look too bad for us. I think that we are in a pretty decent spot. I guess we don't actually know what they upgraded, but regardless, we are going to be winning this combat, and you got to be feeling pretty great about that as a trophy hunter, winning all of these early game combats. I do like the Shadow Assassin because we actually are slaying, and then we'll start to be able to grow this Shadow Assassin a little bit. I'll just take the Genie's Wish and see what treasure we can get from that. Locked Chest is certainly interesting, but I think Secret Stash is a good one, especially because we are playing up against a Potion Master here, so I feel like we could certainly lose. But if we win, we're also covered on the For Glory side of things with the... we're covered on those side of things too with the For Glory that we got from the Genie's Wish. So if we win this battle, we For Glory, and if we lose this battle, we get the Secret Stash that is going to give us 3 extra health and, importantly, 3 gold going into 4.0. Level 4 is really where the Trophy Hunter shines. That's where you find the Grim Souls, which are the meat and potatoes of the Trophy Hunter builds. And man, are we ever going to find some Grim Souls in this game. We're going to find a ton of Grim Souls. Potion Master with an Ancient Sarcophagus, and shouldn't be too big of a deal other than that. We are actually going to get the win, and we're going to get the For Glory, so we get a free tier 4 unit. That could still be sweet as well. We get a Godmother. Not super excited about that one, but we also have 2 extra cash to work with on this turn from our bounty board, despite not getting the Secret Stash cash. Monster Book is a really, really good one as well to be able to try to slay with that. Probably want to consider like cutting the Black Cat at this point in the game. And yeah, just running the Labyrinth Minotaur in there. That's going to be pretty strong. Could take the Turkish Delight. I don't hate it. It's really questionable because we want to find Grim Souls, right? So that's the main reason to not buy XP. We want Grim Souls, we want Monster Books too. All of this is looking quite good. We can play another Monster Book here over the Minotaur, and this is quite strong, quite powerful. So I like what we got going on. We're playing up against the current lobby leader other than ourselves, and that is going to mean that we might get the Secret Stash here, and also that we want to play as strong of a board as we possibly can. But I think we're the only undefeated player at this point, because I do think that Beauty started with 45 health on this patch. Yeah, it did. So, Fireball, absolutely huge to take out 2 Queen of Hearts there. But our Mummy gets to slay, so that is also quite huge for us. That is going to mean that we tie this combat. So we don't get the Secret Stash, and we don't pop their Needle Nose Daggers. Neither of our treasures are broken, but that is fine. Burning Palm is pretty good on the Mummy. Get some additional attack on there, help that slay. Really want to find some Grim Souls, but we also have a few different pairs that we would like to complete as well. Sporko, also kind of interesting, kind of eyeing that up, but I think that I should be rolling for the Grim Soul right now and just using our cash as effectively as we can. We're going to replace the Sporko with a Baba Yaga eventually, so Sporko isn't like super necessary. You do kind of want to consider it again when you run into it again, but we're going to roll past it again here, and then pick up another Mummy. So now we'll have a pair of mummies. I'll sell off the Black Cat, hang on to the Minotaur. There's like some instances where maybe the Minotaur plays in the future, but this is good. Maybe want to move the mummy into slot 2. Could also just play the Queen of Hearts. There's definitely some considerations for this board. But I think that we've got a nice little group of units going on right now. These are most of the units that we want to see with Trophy Hunter. We just want to find Grimsoul, and we want to start making some more treasures, start tripling some things. And like I said, we are not going to be hurting for Grimsouls later on. We just barely avoid the Slay there, though, which is a little bit awkward. Monster Book probably will get the Slay. I guess it's 50-50. No, we actually lose the Slay on Monster Book as well, but we are going to be able to clean up the combat with our ranged unit plus our Queen of Hearts. So still get the win, still going strong here, not popping the Secret Stash. Nothing from the bounty board, though, this turn either. So not too much cash to be able to work with, but we do find our first Grimsoul, so all is forgiven, and we'll see what else we can do. Don't really want to pollywoggle on Trophy Hunter, but that's pretty nice. Monster Book is good. I guess if I want to pick up Monster Book, I probably have to sell Labyrinth Minotaur and the Witch. Do I sell the Queen? Wow, okay, I sell the Queen. I do like having some supports, and for that reason I guess I just sell the Queen here. None of these treasures are particularly exciting, but Moonsong Horn is fine. Like Forking Rod, you can double a Burning Palm, but Moonsong Horn is just immediate stats on everything, so it generally works out being fine as well. And then we'll put the Grimsoul in. And I do think that I could have gotten away potentially with selling the Evil Witch if I wanted to try to complete a Bad Moon, which is just a really good treasure, but it would have made us a lot weaker this turn. When I'm not supporting the mummies, they just have a lot less stats too, so that overall just translates to just a much weaker board and a much stronger board here for my opponent. They have got Horde Dragon with Dwarven Forge, which we just explored probably a week ago by the time this video goes live. But that is quite a powerful combination and going to mean that my opponent wins. They hit us for 7 here, but we gain 3 health from the Secret Stash, and that's 3 health going into 5.0. So maybe now we can find some Baba Yagas and start to turn some things around. And I guess I shouldn't say turn things around. We've been doing well. We've been putting some strong stuff out there, but we haven't been slaying the past few combats. And Trophy Hunter really, really appreciates either Monster Manual or Bad Moon so that it can start slaying and scaling its comp, because without that you kind of just have to cast spells every turn, which is fine, but you'd rather just a more reliable and faster way to grow your board. Do have the opportunity to pick up a Shadow Assassin here, and I will do so selling out of the Queen of Hearts. Queen of Hearts has been part of the reason that we've been winning a lot of these combats up to this point, but I think that I want to try to get a treasure here, and I think that it is stronger to sell the Queen and keep the Wicked Witch so that we can still support these mummies. So that is what I'm going to go for here. Don't really have to be winning these combats as long as we are putting ourselves in a position where we're going to be able to pick up the pieces that we need down the line. So that is kind of the idea here too, rather than like necessarily needing to win right now. But we're looking good. We get the Grimsoul Slay, so we're going to be able to cast a bunch of spells, and one of the ways that you can scale a Trophy Hunter comp is by casting spells and hoping that you get Blessing of Athena's occasionally in there. But Monster Book getting the attack and slay is going to be enough to win this one, along with our ranged units to almost kill the APOC there. And APOC will be level 6 next turn, so they are happy to be able to survive on 1 HP, I'm sure. And we pick up another Grimsoul. That is pretty sweet. And then we pick up another Grimsoul. That is pretty sweet. That is going to give us a tier 4 treasure. Ring of Rage, just a little bit more attack. It's not scaling, but it's something. And we'll take it here. So that is going to be a pretty significant power spike for us for this turn, combined with a Baba Yaga, and all of a sudden we are looking pretty good. So now we are using Baba Yaga to support this Grimsoul, and if Baba Yaga gets to slay, or if Grimsoul gets to slay, it'll do a whole bunch. I could also just do it like this, and the reason I would do this is because I don't think that Grimsoul has high enough attack. If I don't think that Grimsoul is going to slay, then I just want to maximize the last breath triggers when those other slays happen, and that would include doubling any of my mummy hits. However, I think that 20, now that we have the Ring of Rage, now that we've got the Baba Yaga supporting it, I think 20 might be just enough. So let's see. We actually get attacked, and this is a Celestial Tiger with Mimic and Sarcophagus. So everything that dies, every evil unit that they have that dies is firing out 3 Ancient Sarcophagus triggers. So don't worry, we're actually going to watch this combat again right after, because so much happens, and believe it or not, that was all from one attack. The only unit attacked here was that Ogre Princess. So we'll watch it again, and I'll break it down really quick, just because this combat's absolutely insane. Ogre Princess attacks, kills the Grimsoul. Grimsoul Slay goes onto the monster book, fires out a fireball, which kills a pumpkin and a black cat, summoning a black cat and a chupacabra. That's going to summon 6 Ancient Sarcophagus triggers on our side of the field. One of those hits a mummy, and then we actually do the Grimsoul trigger. Then we do the other Grimsoul trigger onto the monster book, and then we have some mummy triggers in there. It's honestly too much to break down. I don't want to go through it all step by step, but it's absolutely crazy that that kind of stuff is able to happen there. And that's part of Pumpkin being on 5. This is still a video where Pumpkin is on 5, but not entirely just based off that. I go for the Potion of Heroism before picking up the Baba Yaga, because I am probably tossing the Moonsong Horn when I triple this Baba Yaga, but we'll see what we can find. Staff of the Old Toad is pretty tempting. Everything that Trophy Hunter wants to see is a 4 or a 5, really. It means that we won't be able to triple Mummy, and it means that we won't be able to triple Shadow Assassin. So it's going to take away a lot of our scaling. But I do think that it is pretty strong, and will just allow us to easily find like more Grimsouls, monster books, and Baba Yagas. And at that point, maybe we don't need Shadow Assassins if we can just find more of those other key players. So that is kind of going to be the idea here. Let's just find more Grimsouls and see how much we can get away with in that regard. But it is going to be a little bit rough that we're not going to scale. We are able to get that Slay, though, so that is pretty fantastic. That is going to mean a bunch of Mummy Missiles, and this Potion Master also has Ancient Sarcophagus. Ancient Sarcophagus pretty frequently seen on this patch because Pumpkin on 5, everybody wanted to be able to take advantage of that. So we are going to just continue to cast a bunch of spells. And again, this is a combat all from one attack. The only thing that got in there was my Grimsoul, and then we cast a bunch of spells and they fired a bunch of Sark triggers back at us, and we fired a bunch of Mummy Missiles and things and spells back at them. I'll pick up another Grimsoul. That's pretty sweet. And then do want to consider Monster Book, but I'm not going to go for it. I am going to go for a Worm Root on Grimsoul because it is so strong if Grimsoul can actually get that Slay. And like I said, that is really the only way that we are scaling Grimsouls this game. Then I'll pick up another Grimsoul. That's pretty sweet. And we have got a triple. And we're going to be able to pick up a tier 4 treasure. Horn of Olympus, quite good. I think it's really good. I don't think that I should be tossing Bounty Board here. I think this is a mistake, but that is what I go ahead with tossing. Maybe should have just tossed half of the old Toad, tried to pick up some other scaling now that we've got Horn plus double Grimsoul. So basically now this Baba Yaga is supporting everything in the front line. And it's really, really good if we can find even more Baba Yagas. Unfortunately, I don't think we see another Baba Yaga this game, or if we do, I didn't catch it as I was reviewing the VOD, but we're going to do a ton of slaying here now, which would generate into a ton of coin, and maybe if I had kept the bounty board, we would have seen more Baba Yagas. But Grimsoul is going to get in and slay, so Mummy is going to fire off a bunch of missiles. We're going to kill a good boy, and then we're going to kill everything else. Pumpkin is going to refill my opponent's board, but the stuff isn't that strong, and then we're going to fire off even more Mummy missiles, and then we're going to start to cast some spells from our monster book and take care of a bunch of my opponent's stuff in that way. Fireball gets a 2-for-1, Shrivel kills some stuff, Lightning Bolt doesn't quite kill, but another Smite will get a kill, and then we finish up the combat again. Just one attack. Kind of crazy how we're seeing one attack just dominate on all of these combats. But that's what happens when a Grimsoul attacks and slays while supported with a Baba Yaga and then triggers onto another unit that is also supported by a tripled Baba Yaga. So pretty fantastic stuff there. We are basically at the end of our comp, though, unless we want to build another monster book. Or we could pick up another Grimsoul. And we see the Crocbait spell here, and this is where things could potentially get a little bit silly. So how this works is you use Crocbait on a Grimsoul. Then you get a Croc who has the Last Breath ability of summon a Grimsoul. That Last Breath also becomes a slay. So you get a character with Last Breath, summon a character that when it dies triggers this ability. And that is going to be too powerful to pass up. I am going to lock another Grimsoul. I did have to think about if I wanted to do this because there's a little bit of meminess in this. What we were doing already was really powerful, but this has the potential to just go ballistic, and it is a little bit scary to see how many of my opponents have just a whole bunch of ancient sarcophaguses and stuff. Again, this would have been like a totally different game if we were able to pick up like a Bad Moon or something early on, but this is what we do. So you can see now the Croc triggering, it summons another Grimsoul, and that Grimsoul summons into slot 1. So typically, that Grimsoul would then be able to attack again as your next unit, and you'll want to put that Croc like in the back line, so that way you can just fill your whole front line with Grimsouls. Going to throw a little bit more stats onto the Grimsoul. I believe I made sure to devour my smaller Grimsoul with the Croc, so that way my larger Grimsoul can still potentially get in there and attack and slay. And hopefully this is enough. This Celestial Tiger can fire off a bunch of Sark triggers, so it can definitely be scary. Let's skip ahead to the combat. I wind up frontlining the Croc to put in another Shadow Assassin. I think this was a mistake because these Shadow Assassins are really not long for this world, but we do get the Slay, so that is pretty sweet. So we're going to start things off with a bunch of Mummy missiles. We pop a Pumpkin right off the bat, so that is pretty good too. If we can pop the other Pumpkin or those pigs relatively quickly, then we can stop a lot of what my opponent is trying to do. They're going to keep firing a bunch of Sark triggers, and eventually we are going to have some more Grimsouls spawn up here. So pretty incredible stuff. Quite silly as well. And you can see our Shadow Assassins are getting pretty crazy in the back, but they still don't have that much health. So both of our Shadow Assassins actually go down there, and then our Monster Book goes down too. So our Croc is our only unit left. So now whenever one of our Grimsouls dies, it's just immediately going to spawn a copy of itself, which it actually spawns 2 copies of itself because it triggers the Croc twice. Didn't think about that part. And that's going to help us play around this Ancient Sarcophagus to a decent extent too, because a Grimsoul dies and then 2 more Grimsouls come right back in their place. Unfortunately, then my opponent attacks the Croc, and that is the downside of putting it in the front line, of course. But we still have a bunch of Grimsouls here, though those Sarc triggers are going to mean that we lose all of them, and we take 12 damage down to 10. But man, is that sweet. I do think that we should backline the Croc at this point. I do think that that is probably just safer. Probably want another Wormroot on this Grimsoul. You can see just how much coin we're spending into... I'll pick up another Grimsoul. That's pretty cool. You can see just how much gold we're spending into trying to buff the Grimsoul to stay on pace with the lobby. I'll pick up another Grimsoul. That's pretty cool. And then we get to grab a tier 4 treasure and summoning Portal, when all we're doing is summoning a ton of Grimsouls, is pretty epic. And this is definitely like the pinnacle of this comp. It's a little bit scary. I would actually love to pick up like another Croc bait just to have some insurance that both of our Crocs aren't going to die. But it's scary with all of these Sarc triggers running around. And this Horde Dragon could have absolutely anything at this point. This was Horde Dragon Dwarves, and now they have transformed into the Fates, and they have got quite a collection of stuff going on there. They're pretty powerful. Horde Dragon with the Dwarven Forge was able to pick up a bunch of Lordies and Angries and other stuff and do some sweet stuff. And honestly, this comp is not the best against Dwarves. It's hard to take down these Dwarves with these mummy triggers because these mummy triggers are only hitting for 14. If we were scaling the mummy, or if it was an upgraded mummy hitting for 28s, that starts to look a little bit different, but unfortunately we're going to fall a little bit flat. And the Grimsoul is going to trigger on the mummy rather than triggering on the Croc, so we could have definitely done a lot better here if we were able to summon out a bunch more Grimsouls, but unfortunately we're not. And that is going to be it for us for this game. This Fates Dwarf player is going to take us out, but honestly, this was still a really fun one. This was a really sweet comp, and maybe now that you've seen it, you will be able to put it together and get a win with it, because it is just absolutely bonkers silly. Just one small note, if you're not already aware, they wanted to tone down the power of this comp a little bit, so there is a hidden rule in Storybook Brawl that each of your slots, so we call this like slot 1, slot 2, or position, whatever, each of your positions, each of your spaces can only attack 5 times before it skips to the next spot. So there is a way to get it so that like you're just always summoning a bunch of Grimsouls. Basically, this one will attack 5 times, and then it'll be like this attacks, your opponent attacks, this attacks, your opponent attacks, this attacks, etc., etc. Then this one will attack 5 times intermittently, then this one, then this one. So that kind of like weaves in your other units, because otherwise this would just get to attack first every time, and if you didn't have any type of scam, there would just be no way to beat this comp. But now you can at least beat it with like a large Echo Wood or a large like doubly or something. That's not what happened in this game against my opponent. We just got a little bit unlucky. Maybe I should have stopped playing these things though too, and I think that would have been the next evolution. The next stage of this comp is try to croc this Grimsoul and then cut all of my other Last Breath units. Then probably cut the Baba Yaga too and just play Grimsoul and 2 Crocs and the Summoning Portal, and I think you'd be surprised how effectively that can actually work. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.